Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of the United by Force podcast. My name is Venkatesh Hariharan, and I'm the Public Policy Director for Force United, a non-profit that aims to bring together the free and open source software community in India. Our guest today is Akhila Somnath, co-founder of Technology for Good Community, a non-profit that aims to empower other non-profits with the power of technology. So, welcome Akhila to the podcast,
Thanks,
and
sir.
just to kick it off,
Yeah.
can you let us know, why you started Tech for Good Community and how the genesis of the organization came about?
Yeah, sure. I think so. Unlike a lot of organizations and startups, this was not an accidental entrepreneurship at all. The three co-founders were a women-led organization, and of course, the CXO. We have Tushar as the CTO. The three of us met back in 2016. We were working for a very huge organization, and we figured that technology seemed to be a really big problem in terms of transparency, the kind of work that we were doing within the organization. How do you transparently communicate to your stakeholders? Could be like your donors or your volunteers or anyone. And we started questioning each other on if an organization so big had so much trouble with understanding technology, what happens to real change makers across India,
Yeah.
working in remote grassroots areas? How would they, what would that mean for them? So we started off as a small initiative. We didn't register, nothing in 2018. We started off with a small cohort where we called in organizations and we're like, we'll build capacity. Maybe that's what we got to do. And we brought in a lot of partners to start to help organizations learn about free and discounted software at that point. We weren't into open source heavily like the way we are today. So our mission always had a force element to it, but we were never a completely force organization that's working on these problem statements. So our idea was to support organizations, institutionalize technology for them, and help them leverage technology in order to amplify their own social impact. So we started as a very small 5-member team in 2018. And we evolved over the period of 5 years, and this is the 6th year at Tech for Good. So yay! So we made it 6 years. So it was always that our ideas kept evolving. We pivoted. That's something that we're really good at. We keep pivoting depending upon the requirement that our community expects of us, the nonprofits that need. So that's how we've been pivoting. And in fact, one of our first incubations that we went through was with the Nudge Foundation, and Mr. Shankar Marwada was our mentor. So he said something about us that really that really stuck by us about how we thought and how we function. He said that Tech for Good is the kind of organization that holds their values really close and tight, and their ideas loose. So that became like the core of our DNA, where we hold our values tight and our ideas loose. So we're able to pivot as and when, depending upon the requirement and what the sector needs.
So my impression is that you are a bunch of young, early career startup
Yeah, I was 22.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So why did you choose to work in the not-for-profit sector, as against, say, going to the private sector? And what motivated you as individuals to work in this area?
I think I can speak for the three of us when I say this, that all of us had a natural inclination towards a sector. We've all been a part of different volunteering missions right from college. And when I used to say personally to a lot of my college professors or anybody in my family that I want to have a career in the NGO space, that's what people call it. I was never taken seriously. Like, how is that even possible? Yeah. But I think we found our niche now. But the three of us always had this inclination. And
So how do you work with nonprofits? What's your engagement model?
Yeah. So we have multiple ways in which we engage with social enterprises as well as nonprofits across the country. One is that the ecosystem demands awareness building. Right? Yeah. So there is a lack of awareness where we engage with organizations to raise awareness on free and open source software, what's available, this is how you can do, this is how you can use it, these are the kind of tools for an organization your size, this would be the right tool. So the kind of awareness that organizations are able to have through interactions and with us, That is one aspect of it. Second one is the accessibility aspect of it, where a lot of organizations know that, okay, these are softwares that are there.
Yeah.
Great, there's a software that I can use, but how do I access this? Now, if it's an open source tool, like how do I go about this?
Yeah.
Or if it is a free tool, like say it could be anything that an organization would see value, how do I access this tool? So our goal would be to also help them, help advocate for discounts with tool partners, including cloud hosting. So even if you take an open source tool, you need to host it.
Yeah.
Now, to host it, an organization might not have the budget for it. So our work would be advocacy in that aspect, to work with the cloud partner to give it to them at a discounted price, and activate rolling credits. So they're supported in terms of using it sustainability.
Okay.
The last aspect is also the last but one aspect is the capacity building aspect of it, where we work with organizations to build in-house capacity to use technology without dependency on external vendors. So which is a real problem in the sector, where there is lack of resources in-house, and due to that you outsource technology, and that becomes a problem. But if technology is so simplified and you can build capacity in-house, you don't have to spend or depend on external stakeholders to sort of run this for you. The last way is that we work closely with organizations to build out FOSS systems for them. So we work, and this is one of our biggest flagship programs called FOSS Forward. So FOSS Forward essentially works with social enterprises and nonprofits to help them adopt technology. We build, we configure, we customize, and we ensure we train them on the systems and we deliver to them.
Okay.
So that's the last model.
So you also, in our earlier conversations, you mentioned that, you started off by working with proprietary software companies, and then, getting them discounts, etc. From there, you have pivoted to
FOSS.
More of FOSS. So what led to that pivot? Can you help us understand that?
Sure. Interesting that you bring this up. So we've been seeing that proprietary is very constrictive in the way nonprofits can sort of exercise a particular tool. Now, the last 4 years was heavily where we would work with proprietary tool partners in order to, help organizations get free licenses, help them adopt these tools so that they can use it at a low cost or something around that. But what we started experiencing was the lack of flexibility that organizations used to get. Of course, they don't understand. A lot of them actually don't really care if you say that the source code is open and you are the owner of your software. So sometimes it doesn't really matter. But what matters is the fact that I can do what I want with my software. I have the flexibility to add fields, add layers, and I don't have to keep paying for every feature add-on to a proprietary vendor, where cost became such a big problem for organizations. So flexibility, cost of implementation, sustainability, lack of training support from different proprietary tool partners was one of the key reasons why we started making the switch towards FOSS.
And you spoke at the FOSS event, our India FOSS 3.0, few months ago, and on that panel you made a statement which was, I thought, very startling in some ways. You mentioned that 90% of the nonprofits do not have a tech strategy or a tech budget. So give us a sense of the landscape of the organizations that you are working with.
Sure. So we've been working with organizations that are extremely grassroots and remote across the country. We have people from the Northeast. We have organizations that are working in really remote tribal areas in the South. So we've had a mix of organizations that we've been working with. And the startling bit is that we have a tech maturity assessment process in-house. So every organization that hits Tech for Good community goes through a tech maturity assessment, where we're able to identify parameters that define an organization's ability to adopt tech at that particular point of time. So you can't force tech on people who are not ready to take it, right? And even the kind of tech intervention must vary. So from the tech maturity assessment, we started figuring out that 70% in fact don't have a tech budget, and 90% have their data in silos, which is a real big concern. So half of them have it on Excel, people have it on sheets, and people still struggle with paper. And even though they might have systems to have their data stored, there are different systems for different operations. like a program management system that collects data. You have a data indexing system, and then you move to the next where your accounting is separate, your project management is separate. So everything is so different, and all your data is spread across different silos.
Yeah.
They do not talk to one another. So this is a real big problem, and yeah, 70% don't even have IT resource, nor do they have IT budgets.
So how do you then work with such organizations? I mean, the
Yeah.
the effort taken in getting them from this kind of absolute scratch to
Yeah.
say a certain level where they are proficient in using technology,
Mhm.
isn't that very time and people intensive?
Not people intensive, but time, yes.
Hmm.
The team at Tech for Good, we're only 13 people. We work with 1,200 organizations. And we're very comfortable with just being 13 at this point. We have a very strong engineering team. We also automate a lot of our processes. We build out projects that are replicable. So we use the same source code over and over again. Our technical writing, in terms of our documentation, is on point for every project that we do. So we have it all on our Git repo, and it's open and available for anyone to pick it up as well. In terms of engagement, the time-consuming bit is to help an organization see value in FOSS. So the building aspect of it, the configuration aspect of it is much, much lesser in terms of time consumption than getting a nonprofit to say, yes, I want FOSS. So the time goes in there, and it ranges between a week to 3 months. So that's your time of conversion. But also, we understand why that happens. It's the lack of awareness that there is. And there are so many misconceptions about FOSS. So we created an entire playbook to talk about myths, and here is what the truth is. So to help them understand, okay, free and open source doesn't mean your data is open. Like, they have these questions, right? And fair enough that they do. So, and we're very, very happy to sort of raise and support them, understand and see value in FOSS before they adopt it blindly. The point is to not sell it. The point is to educate.
So what's been the best experiences and the most challenging experiences that you have come across in working across this 1,200 countries?
Yeah, I think in terms of people operations, of course, it's always going to be like that because we work directly with a lot of organizations on ground. But the most challenging aspect of it is the fact that due to lack of budgets, technology is not being adopted at the rate at which it should be at this point. And we understand and we see that being a very big roadblock for organizations to actually come to FOSS. And of course, FOSS is free and open source, and we're helping them with credits and everything that's possible to support them towards long-term sustainability of the software. But the fact that there would be a developer hour cost that would be added to, like, say, building out a system, that might be a hiccup here and there. And we're figuring out ways to sort of help organizations get past that point. But yeah, the challenge has been, it's a good challenge to have, I would say, that we have an entire landscape of nonprofits in India that have no idea about FOSS sometimes, and we're happy we're in this space to sort of educate and get them to a point. And the point is that even if you educate them today, Venki, I'll give you an example. We spoke to an organization 6 years ago. They come back today saying, okay, I need this. I saw your new LinkedIn post. I need this sorted for me. So sometimes it's not about immediate impact. You don't know when they will come back. But you've done your job by ensuring you've educated them and given them all the information that they need.
Okay. So, so in terms of adoption, across these 1,200 organizations, what category of people do you see as, let's say the exemplar adopters, the ideal adopters, and what kind of differentiates them from other nonprofits in the sector?
So I wouldn't categorize it based on type of systems.
Okay.
I would categorize it based on organizations that are tech first.
Okay.
Which have a mission to be tech first. Or could have a small component to which they understand and see value that data can give them so many insights. It's not just about collection, but there's also, it helps you with M&E, reporting to your donor. So there's this whole process in which the data can be articulated across different segments to the point it reaches your funder for you to be able to express your impact much better, and you're able to scale your impact basis the data. So taking informed decisions. So I would say that along the way, we've seen organizations that have prioritized start with the basics. Prioritizing data, number one, would be a very ideal adopter for us, because a lot of people that we work with are still using pen and paper. And then now you're helping them move to a digital mode of data collection, which is great. And then next step would be to say, okay, I want it to be a data management system. So we have levels at which organizations come in. You could be like, you could be an organization that's extremely, have no tech capacity, no tech resources, not even a laptop, but you have a smartphone. Now that's a qualifier for us, that we can help you with offline data collection. Through that. You can go and collect job cards, panchayat level data, right,
so
from different
replace
villages.
pen and paper.
Yeah, you can replace, just use your phone.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, an important and interesting challenge I'd like to highlight with grassroots. So, when we started Tech for Good initially, we worked with this organization called Jagrita Mahila Sangatna, and it was an eye opener for us. And a lot of who we are today is, of course, the work that we did with them in 2018, 2019. So this organization, rural women run, and they had lost all of their data, I think close to 7,000 member data, to a flood. And they had no proof of impact, the kind of work that they were doing. They were only being funded by one organization. Of course, things were getting tough. So we used to station ourselves with this organization to understand their workflows, to see what they're doing, what are the different programs, where can we help. And the first thing we introduced was a data collection tool. And I still remember, and this is back in my early days, and I would wait for them to finish data collection and come back. We're all staying in the same village. We're with them. We are stationed there. Right, so and we teach them how to collect data, and we built the form in Kannada, so it's multilingual, it's open source on Kobo Toolbox, and on ODK, and we wait for them to go test it out on the field and come back. So when they went and tested it out, they came back to us and they say, our eyes hurt, we can't look at the phone. So yeah, I mean, it's about, we're actually changing mindsets and perspectives more than anything else. And no matter how much people talk about, technology can be really hard, I can make it more user-friendly, but you're actually battling something else here. When you're talking about grassroots, when you're talking about the change that you want to create on ground, these are not your concerns at all. Tech, your budgets, resources. Nah, we had issues saying people, like, eyes hurt. So these are the kind of problems you will actually face. These are human problems that are not documented per se. Yeah.
And what is the current state in this particular nonprofit?
They are fully functional with all of their stuff. They haven't reached back ever since. And a very interesting fact I'd like to share. So ODK was at some point adopted by Google. They were supported by Google. And the founder had reached out to us because of our work around ODK. And we gave him a lot of suggestions to tweak his tool to make it work better for Indian nonprofits. And this organization, a 62-year-old community leader, came and trained 60 other nonprofits on using ODK in the Google office of Bangalore, where we got in 60 other organizations. They were able to build capacity. So the whole concept of, like, you're creating ripples of impact, and that was one such organization that sort of created that impact.
So you also mentioned that you worked across 1,200 organizations, and that's a fairly large number of organizations for a fairly short span of time, 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So how have you been able to scale up so fast? And
secret sauce is a secret sauce for a reason. I'm kidding. We don't really have secret sauces. We've organically grown, and I must say that we haven't invested a single penny in marketing because we're always out of budgets to do that. But we have always, our organic growth has been because of word of mouth. Organizations have recommended other organizations to us, and that's how we've survived and come this far. And our road to our 1 lakh target is also going to be the same way. We want to organically grow. We've not done any sort of social media promotions. We are active on social media, we post, but we've never spent a penny on marketing in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. So fundraising is always a big challenge for Indian nonprofit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how challenging it is outside India, but I know for a fact that within India, it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that process? And who are your main funders at this point in time?
So We actually have so we are in a very niche space where we're working in tech. And then for the longest time, we couldn't even get our 12A ATG because they were like, how are you social work, right?
Mm.
But God's grace, we did get it. But the point is that we're in a very niche space where it is an amalgamation of capacity building as well as engineering solutions for nonprofits and social enterprises, highly impact focused.
Yeah.
So our kind of our funding and some of our funders in the past or our current funders includes Rainmatter Foundation. We have Samagata. We work very closely. We also had Omidyar Network and who
Yeah.
supported us. Many others. We've also had so many. I'm just thinking Nudge Foundation. We've had Facebook, Meta.
Mm.
We were a part of their Pragati initiative where they chose 3 women-led social enterprises, like working in the technology space, trying to create big impact.
Yeah.
And we were one of the 3 organizations out of thousands that got selected for that program. So yeah, we've had Cisco has been a funder.
Okay. So one of the challenges that I see with nonprofits is that, funding cycles, sometimes you're kind of in between funding cycles or in between 2 different cycles, and then, your salaries to pay.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts around making this more self-sustainable, maybe by charging for the software? How are you thinking of the future?
So at this point, we of course have a very strong grant model that we are dependent on to sort of function, but we also have we're also exploring self-sustained revenue streams that can come into Tech for Good, and that is through implementation of projects. And of course, we're still not of the idea that we will build independent products. That is not our goal. That's not our game at all. But we are also looking at charging based on the implementation aspects of it, which is at a very, very nominal cost. It starts at $800 per
Okay.
hour, which is a development charge for a very complex system it could be a data management platform, or
Yeah.
it could be data indexing with geo mapping and stuff like that. So yeah, we
Mm.
want to keep it at a price point that organizations actually see value at that price. Sometimes people are like, really, is it possible for such cheap cost? Like, we're like, yes, because the software is free, so there is
Yeah.
no association with your subscription fees to us. We don't
Yeah.
own anything. It's completely yours. So that aspect, yes, we are looking to. We've begun. So yeah,
Okay.
let's see.
So give us a sense of how organizations have benefited. What are the different ways in which
Yeah.
some of the 1,200 organizations have benefited from the work that you've done.
So I'd like to stick to FOSS related stuff, right? So one that a lot of the organizations, when we first started, and Venki, mind you, this FOSS, the entire pivot happened
Yeah.
in 23. You know that,
Yeah.
right? So 23 March is when we just completely switched to FOSS altogether. We cut ties with some.
We hadn't met
big,
at that time.
We
I think
had
it was-
Kailash.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my
That's
conversation.
Kailash
with
from
Kailash.
Zerodha.
Yeah, Kailash from Zerodha. I had my first, my conversation with him. And after I did, and I went back to the team and we were discussing this more deeply, and we're like, yeah, we have people to guide us now. And because FOSS is not a ecosystem in the nonprofit, it's not very famous, and it's not easy in our ecosystem. Not everybody understands it. So we thought, okay, let's take a leap of faith. This is the right thing to do. We're going to pivot. So yet again, under 30 days, we pivoted. Coming up with our own ideas. We did a lot of research. We have a very solid engineering team in-house that was also hired. And Tushar has always been a part of Tech for Good. He's our CTO. And he's always been a part of Tech for Good ever since we started. He was one of our first fellows as a part of our capacity building program. He was working with another nonprofit, but he's always volunteered. So all of us got together. We started thinking hey, listen, there is an opportunity. Why not? Let's take a shot.
Yeah.
If we fail upwards. That's it.
Yeah.
So then it was interesting to see that when we started speaking about FOSS, firstly, there was a sense of surprise that software is free amongst the nonprofit ecosystem.
Okay.
Right? And we are talking about small and medium-sized organizations. We're not talking about the large-scale ones. Right?
How many people, when you say small and medium-sized organization?
So when I say small and medium, it would be in terms of their operational budgets. It would be in terms of their the impact
Employees.
range, and employees is fine.
Okay.
We don't look into that, but we look at your budget and your impact. That defines the size of an organization for us.
And what's the range? Just to
Range. So a small organization could be anywhere between a really small organization is operating budget between 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. A little more organization, which is like a small organization, could be between 10 to 60 lakhs, and a medium size would be between 80 lakhs to say 2 crores or 1.5 crores. Just operationally, they're able to sustain. So these organizations were, and actually our community is also maximum with small and medium sized organizations. We do have a lot of large organizations as well, but a lot of small and medium sized organizations reach out to us more frequently because they need that kind of counseling to come and arrive at decisions. So yeah, this would be the size of an organization when you ask me. And it was very shocking and surprising for them that software can be free. And they were like, what about licensing? And we said, no, there's nothing called licensing in this. And this is the concept of open source. Then we spoke to them about the open source community where you can actually reach for help. They will help fix bugs. They can do this. This is how powerful a community like this is. They weren't aware of GitHub. So these are things that you're first raising awareness. You're just scratching the surface at this point, right? And even talking about adoption is a last leg. It could happen for all those organizations we spoke about or spoke to, would probably adopt later, a year or two later, and they at least know, they're aware, this is the system I want for me. So, and one of the organizations we were speaking to was actually, multiple of them actually were actually using proprietary software. I don't want to take the names and stuff, but and they were being charged a lot of money to run those software, right? And it would be a annual subscription cost. And we've had people quote between 21 lakhs to like 10 lakhs, 21 lakhs, 30 lakhs. There was no cap, and we were so surprised that this is insane. Why?
And this is for organizations whose budgets are in the range of 5 lakhs to 80 lakhs.
Yeah.
So it's 21 lakhs within that range, that's a massive amount. Even for an organization that's 80 lakhs, that's 1/4 of it.
And your entire operational cost is going into building tech.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to do that? So, and these are organizations, not everybody is quoted that amount. Maybe like 1 lakh or 2 also for organizations that are really small. Maybe the requirement is such. Depending on the requirement, the cost kept like just escalating. Because they're like, we'll add this feature would cost you this much. And we were really surprised by how crazy this ecosystem is. The point is that they still take up the services because they're unaware. So our focus became that, hey, listen, I don't care if you adopt FOSS at this point or not. Right now, you need to know. This is what you need to be aware of. This is what FOSS can help you from. And we've helped a lot of organizations move to FOSS. And in fact, last year was our first year since we started working on FOSS in-house. We already have about 60 organizations that are working with us on this capacity to sort of adopt these systems. So we're really excited about it and to see how this pans out for them. And we also have a very interesting update for this year is that we're starting a capacity building workshop where we're having 8 hours of intensive training for grassroots for free. To use to collect data from the ground by using a multilingual feature on Kobo Collect, so Kobo Toolbox, which is a free and open source tool. So this is going to be about 30 organizations from Tamil Nadu, rural Tamil Nadu, are coming together to learn and how to digitize their own data and take charge of this. So this would be a really interesting story to sort of like for us also to have and inspire other organizations to learn from them. But yeah, the biggest interesting stories for us was to understand the price points at which proprietary works and the fact that nonprofits still take the services despite that because of the lack of awareness.
So one question I have is, so software is a means to an end. So, what is the benefit that these organizations have seen? What are the different kinds of benefits that organizations have seen from going digital?
Yeah. So there are a few aspects that you've got to boil it. It boils down to these aspects, right? One is credibility of an organization is defined and determined by the kind of data that they have, the kind of information that they're able to project about themselves.
Credibility with funders and
Funders, your
the external-
supporters, your volunteers. It's really important for an organization to, these important stakeholders need to be aware of how credible you are as an organization, and tech really helps you with that. In terms of accountability that you have towards your stakeholders, in-house accountability, data does not lie. Right? No matter what department it comes from, it's all in the same place. There's accountability to every single penny that is spent on a particular program or on human resource cost, whatever it may be. There is accountability aspect. Transparency in terms of the kind of communication you want to portray to the outside world. So keeping that sort of transparency can happen through adopting technology, and we believe that these are very important points. And of course, your quality of services to your beneficiaries. Extremely important. That is why you are on the ground. That is why you are working. And we're very mindful of how impactful organizations actually are working on the ground. And to help them improve their own quality of their services to their beneficiaries would be another important angle. Like, say, there are many tools like Glyphic that help you and allow you to talk to your own beneficiaries through WhatsApp chatbots. It's a really interesting concept. So even the quality of your services to your beneficiaries would really change through a tech adoption.
Okay, so transparency, quality of service to beneficiaries, and
accountability. So accountability, transparency, and credibility, and this is really a very operational heavy. So you have your data management system, project management systems.
So Akhila, I think what you're doing is really interesting work, and wish you all success. We hope that you reach lakhs of nonprofits and millions of users and beneficiaries. So, what is the kind of help that you need? How can people who are watching this, whether they are nonprofits, whether they are funders, whether they are interested in mentoring, how can they help out Tech for Good community?
So I think for nonprofits, I would say that we're here as an extended tech wing for you, and no matter what your concern is with respect to tech, if you don't have anywhere to go, you can always come to us. And we're here not to sell you a solution, but we're here to help you educate about the different solutions that are available to you. And it's up to you to make your decision. But we're always here. We champion free and open source only. So we are very mindful of that. Second, to funders and potential funders and donors, the kind of work that we are doing is actually the real impact of it is actually seen over a period of time. And the only sort of support we would need, because of the lack of budgets with organizations, especially grassroots organizations, especially organizations in really remote areas, would not have the budgets to sort of afford a developmental cost as well. So we are looking to partner with different funders and donors who would be willing to sort of support such initiatives, multiple cohorts of organizations. So we're really open to that kind of engagement as well. With respect to volunteers, and we belong to the open source community now, and we understand the power of this community. We've been always dependent on the community. Every time we've run into issues, we post on GitHub. We have people supporting us, and we want that continued support to help us make our projects better. And two, please feel free, if at all they want to reach out to us in terms of contribution to the sector. We're happy to sort of like have conversations with them and see what kind of work they would like to do with our partner organizations. They could take up projects. They could also come in and give some sort of like, can be like an advisory position for an organization to help them choose something. So there are multiple roles as volunteers that already our volunteers are doing, but we'd be happy to sort of engage with more. And this is a community-driven effort, and that's why we're called Tech for Good Community.
Okay, thanks, Akhila. It's a pleasure to have you on this podcast, and we really hope that Tech for Good becomes a force for good and takes the power of FOSS to millions of people across India. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, Venki.